Welcome back, Gameaholics. We are back for a really exciting game. We left last week, and Colin, you can attest to this, really not knowing where we were going in terms of what game we were going to do.
Yeah, it was almost like we felt like bone dry in a sense.
We were kind of just like, what are we going to do? We normally have a schedule, and we kind of came to the end of it. Summer's here. It's freaking, you can probably see me sweating my fucking buckets off here, but like, it's hot out, it's beautiful, it's sunny, so we're kind of just like, not necessarily off the video games, because this brought me right back in. But, like, you know, we've just been enjoying life. But without further ado, we found a game series, and who is it by, Colin? Supersonic or something? No.
Ooh, the developer?
Yeah. You pull that up while I do a little intro.
Yeah, go for it.
You pull that up. So, we found... I actually will take the credit for this, Colin. I was snooping on PlayStation Plus, and I was looking at the 2 free games, and there was what's it called? There's Crash Bandicoot, which I downloaded, and I could see us ripping a pot on the new Crash, honestly. Mm-hmm. And the other one was something called Man of Medan.
Man of Medan.
And I was just like, what the heck is this? Horror game, really, really interesting, and I was like, ooh, this seems good. So, anyways, we go in, and I download that, and I get super into it. Colin tells me, it's a horror anthology. Play the game that started it all before. So, we're going to follow in chronological order, and we're going to talk all about the game Until Dawn. Colin, you look puzzled.
Dude, there's a bunch of more games we forgot about. Like, they made more games like this. There's more than 5 that we thought there was.
Well, we're on 5 right now.
But there's a 6 and a 7.
So, who's it by, though?
Supermassive Games.
Supermassive Games has brought... And fun fact, Canadian. I don't know if you know this.
No.
And really fun fact, Until Dawn is set in Alberta.
It's not Canadian.
But okay, so it's not... Okay, studio's not Canadian, but the game is set in Alberta.
Oh, really?
Yes. So you find... I mean, as 2 Canadian boys, this is a big win for us, and Alberta's not too far away. You actually find postcards and stuff, and like there'll be like the Alberta Chronicle. And it'll be like they'll find postcards for Calgary.
You know what's funny? I think I know why you thought this was Canadian. Because it says they're based in Guildford, Surrey, which is like a district of Surrey, but it's like England.
Well, okay, so yes, but also at the same time, the reason I thought it was Canadian was because they used Alberta as the setting for their first ever game. So I just kind of was like, oh, they're using a Canadian landmark because they're Canadian. Well, anyways, wrong. So anyways... So what are you thinking? I have
a weird spin-off for it real quick.
Yeah,
go. So they made it prequel to this game in 2018 called The Impatient. And then they made a sequel, or like a spiritual sequel, they call it, for The Quarry that came out like recently.
Quarry just came out though.
Yeah, no, but this was a prequel in 2018, came out a couple years after the Until Dawn.
What's it for though? What's it about?
It's just called The Impatient, a psychological horror game in like it looks like a hospital.
They just have a bunch of these games.
But that game's supposed to be like a
spiritual successor?
Spiritual like prequel to this game, Until Dawn.
Interesting. Same characters?
No, but they call it a spiritual because same thing with Quarry, it's different characters, but like it's the same type of concept. Then you have the 3 by the Dark Anthology.
Yeah, Dark Picture Anthology. So
Sorry about that. Just had to dive in real quick because it blows me away because I played this series and you just never talked about it.
100%.
I swear I thought I brought it up to a few times. You know what's hilarious? We went out for drinks a few weeks ago with a few people, and I brought up this game because Luke's on his TikToks like seen Skinwalker videos, and I said to the table. I thought Luke knew what I was talking about. I guess he didn't.
No, I didn't.
So everyone looked at me like I had 5 heads. I'm like, yeah, there's a video game about skinwalkers, basically. Or Wendigo, which is in this game. And Luke's like, yeah.
Cool,
man. I thought he knew. And I thought we talked about it. And then he comes up to me, he's like, we gotta play this series. I'm like, yeah, dude,
That's
I've been
the game I just told you about 2 weeks ago.
I know, but it's crazy.
So it is... Let me just say something before we get into this. I got dialed and I got dialed quick. Like, I went from...
You beat 2 of them in like a 24-hour span.
And I'm already itching
to play another one.
To play Little Hope, which we'll talk more about. So, Supermassive Games has created this really interesting sort of niche. And I was talking to one of my friends about it, and she actually was like, that sounds like Hard Rain. And I was like, it is very similar to Hard Rain, where it's sort of like a cinematic adventure with very little, like, there's no real combat.
Hard Rain or Heavy Rain?
Heavy Rain. Did I say Hard Rain?
Yeah.
Oh, Heavy Rain.
I just wasn't sure.
No. I don't know. Whatever the detective one is, for sure.
Heavy Rain.
But that's more, like, that's a little less horror and more, like, detectives, I find.
Yeah.
And this is definitely more, like, I'm gonna, like, shit myself because of these jump scares.
And everything you do has consequences.
Same with Hard Rain. Heavy Rain. Same with Heavy Rain, though.
Yeah, I guess. I haven't played Heavy Rain in a long time.
Neither have I. But, so...
This is a different spin, because you actually control, like, I feel like everything you do has really heavy consequences.
Oh my god, yes.
Heavy Rain could just be, like, something that might take place in the game. It's a very long, drawn-out game with a story. This is not... This is a very quick, boom, 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 game's done.
So, one of the things that I really like about this is you control, in this game, 8 characters. And each character, I love how it introduces them, it says their name, and it gives, like, some key traits about these characters, right? Like, confident, loyal, funny, blah, 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 blah. And you get to basically make these characters say and do what you want them to, out of options, right? So, like, you control these characters and you basically say if they live or die, which already is an interesting concept. I really like that. But they sort of add that fourth wall break to it, which is, in this game, and we'll talk more, like, I don't want to talk at all really about the heavy, like, I don't really want to talk about, like, the horror anthology section quite yet.
Yeah, we'll stick to Until Dawn.
Yes.
But we are, just for reference, next, like, month and a half, we're just talking about, like, every week's one of these games. So our process is going to be going kind of, like, chronologically. And now I'm kind of curious, Luke, now that I know that there's a 2018 game before the Dark Anthology, like, series started, if we should play that too. The game, which I just looked into, it's going to really bother me. The Impatient. And I don't know what it's about, but it's a prequel to the 2015 game Until Dawn, taking place in Blackwood Sanatorium in 1952, 63 years before the events of the original game. So I don't know if it actually has people from the original and Until Dawn, like maybe the old man or something's in it. So that's why.
So it won't. So
okay.
What this is gonna be, because that's like 60 something years. When we find out what happened in there, it was during, like, World War II or whatever, or, like, a little after that. And what they were doing was they were turning people into skinwalkers.
Oh, probably.
Or into Wendigo. So they were making these people eat human flesh, and you actually... So I actually... One of the things that I really liked about this game is I explored the hell out of it. Like, if I knew I had to go a certain way, I'd go every other way possible. I'd go in every single door. I would go do everything that I possibly could.
Trying to look clues and everything.
So one of the clues that I found was actually an old recording, and it actually shows them feeding this person human flesh, and the guy just freaking loses it and turns into, like, Wendigo and goes from there. So, like, that's what I think it's going to be more about. And they say that they found bodies of reporters, they found bodies of different military personnel, blah, 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 blah. Again, I just played this game last night, so my lore knowledge is here right now. Like,
and I haven't played this in, like, 4 years.
That's what I'm saying. So, but no, it's crazy. You haven't played it in 4 years, but you remember so much about it because you loved it so much. You said you beat it twice, right?
Played it twice through. So I wanted different endings.
And that's the thing, is the difference in this game is every single character has a chance of living and dying in this game dependent on your actions. So the part about this game that I really like right off the bat is... there's 2 issues, and I thought they were working together for a very long time. So this game started off with the tragic death of the 2 twin sisters, due to a prank gone wrong.
Hannah and
Beth.
Beth, okay.
Due to a prank gone wrong.
Yeah.
And, you know...
Which was a pretty shitty prank if you think about it, too. It was such a weird prank. It wasn't even really, like, funny or anything.
I don't, like...
Mike's gonna try and bang one of them, and all of a sudden, like, they're hiding underneath, like, to take video camera, and she, like, cries and runs out of the house. Like, okay, first off, maybe don't run out of the house. But also,
like first off, they're all being dicks. Let's put that right on the open.
It wasn't a prank.
It's not a prank. It's just literally bullying.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you think you can get me? Ha ha ha. Like, everybody's gonna film it. Secondly, one thing that I'm going to criticize about this game, and when we talk next week about Man of Medan, I will talk about that as well. But, like, the issue is I find some of the character actions in this game don't make sense to me. Like, they don't seem like things that normal people would do. Like, if you're, like, that girl's tattooed, so I mean, even if, let's say, she wasn't full legal 18 to get tattooed, let's even say she was 17 or 16 years old. I'm just throwing, I don't know the age. Because she has the tattoo, right?
Yeah, the butterfly.
Why would you run out of a house during the night in an abandoned ski lodge?
No, it's not. It's their house, though. It's not a ski lodge.
No, they own it.
It's not abandoned. Yeah, they own it.
It's a ski chalet.
Yeah. But they own it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like their
But
cabin.
it's still abandoned, though. Nobody takes care of it. It's still, like, there's no cell reception. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's going
Yeah,
blah,
she,
blah,
like,
blah,
has
blah.
a... Yeah, I agree. It's just a very, like reactive thing to run out like that.
And here's...
But also, she doesn't have her shoes on. She goes to put shoes on. In that process, you think about, like, I'm going to run away. Like, what are you doing?
But also, the other thing that really mixes me up about that is how far away she ran. Like, it takes Beth a very long time to find Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like Beth is not running. Beth is going and doing things. But, like, you know, like, anyway, so the death, really tragic, really sad. Obviously, all these kids are to blame because they're just being, like, asshole kids. And, you know, we go back and it's a year later and they're kind of going up this. And I didn't really understand in that main thing that they were in this, like, abandoned, non-cared-for ski lodge.
Yeah.
Like, there's not even lights in there anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's all candles, but there's hot water, which kind of confused me. I didn't really understand how that works.
Because in the freezing cold, like, the pipes would be frozen. So if you turn hot water, it'd burst the pipes. So it wouldn't even get water through there, probably.
So, yeah, and basically what we have is we have these two people, Mike and Jessica, who get in a fight with Emily and Matt, and it's, like, all drama, right? Like, it's like, oh, it's my ex-girlfriend, blah, 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 blah. So I know, like, but I mean, that's kind of real stuff, though.
No, I know.
So basically, you know, Matt and Jessica leave, and I was like, good, because Matt seems like he's a playa and he's a tool, and he was a main person behind bullying this girl into disappearing, and like, Mike, yes, yeah. and like, you know, now these two girls are all fighting each other. Then they had that, like, just bickering match, and Josh pretty much like, okay, Mike, go to the cabin. And Mike goes, and he starts getting kind of terrorized. And I'm like, okay, like, this is interesting. And he's getting terrorized by some sort of, like... I knew it was a Wendigo because you told me, right? Which is fine.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No, which is totally fine. Like, you told me, and I was like, okay, he's getting chased by this Wendigo thing. They think it's a bear. They think it's something, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't. But then things start happening at the lodge, which obviously we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
And that was really getting me excited.
Yeah.
But again...
Because, yeah, there's two things going on at this point.
We kind of jumped out of here, but then these games break the fourth wall because they keep bringing you back to this person, this library. Like, so in this game, it's a psychiatrist. And this psychiatrist comes in after every chapter and asks you these really weird questions, and the room changes, and, like, he asks you what you're horrified of, and then the next scene, he has all of that out. He's asking who you like, what you value, loyalty or honesty, blah, 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 blah. Like, all this crazy stuff. And, like, it's really breaking the fourth wall because he keeps talking about the quote-unquote game you're playing.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, man, what's happening here, right? So, you know, the crazy things start happening at the hotel. And that's when I start getting fired up. Like, the guy in, like, the demented clown outfit coming around and taking everybody. And you get put in those really tough decisions.
Yeah, I think the I forgot about that, to be honest. Not all of it, but when I remember, like, we were talking about the deaths and the potential death scenes and how, like, Josh dies in the first real big, like, choosing moment, and you see all the fake guts and everything come out, like pig guts he gets. So for preference or context, like, there's a scene where there's a saw blade and this crazy clown guy, like a Saw almost, it's like Saw basically.
Yeah, he says pick which one you want to kill.
Yeah, and, like, so there's these two people, Josh who's, like, the brother of the two twins that
voice acted by Rami Malek.
Yeah, very, like, and, like, their face
Oscar
is like him.
Winner.
Yeah. And then this nerd, or not nerd, it's Ashley first. Ashley, this nerd girl, is attached to the other side, and Chris loves Ashley, and Josh is like, yeah, you should try, bro, the whole time, like, talking him up. He's like, so at this point, you get to choose who you want to kill.
I
chose Ashley.
I chose Ashley too. But here's the thing. So, and this is where it got me. This is where it actually tricked me. So you have to say out loud who you pick, right? So you say, I pick Josh, right? Or, like, sorry, Josh, you're gone. Or sorry, Ashley, Josh is my best friend, or whatever. And then you have to move the thing to either side. And on one is a picture of Josh and one is a picture of Ashley. So I moved it to a picture of Josh, thinking that meant to save Josh. And then the saw blade obviously went and killed Josh. And in my mind, I was like, oh, I guess that meant kill Josh. Right?
Yeah.
And it would have been the same thing. If I did it the other way, turned it to Ashley and it killed Josh, would have been like, oh, it's because that's who I picked to save, was Ashley. I just screwed it up. Me as a gamer was like, I just screwed it up. I just screwed this up. Like, it's whatever. And then you find out later on that it's been Josh behind it the whole time, which is super, super cool. Really big plot twist. But, like, just the fact that they actually convince you into thinking that you, as the player, screwed up. When in reality, it flashes back and it shows no matter who you picked, it's always going to cut Josh in half.
Because Josh's body's fake and it's a pig gut, like, body at the bottom, so just watch guts go everywhere, but it's not Josh. He's, like, through, like, a fake wood plank. I thought it was really cool, and it, like, really drives you in, because, like, it's really, like, supernaturally in the house for a bit with the killer. Like, oh, there's a killer on the loose.
I didn't even think the killer was that supernatural. I just thought it was creepy. Like, for example, when Sam's in the bath and...
You didn't freak out a bit? Not even that part, sorry. To cut you off. You didn't think, like, the part when you're downstairs as Sam and you open the dollhouse and, like, the dollhouse...
That wasn't
like,
Sam. That was, Oh, it was Sam.
Yeah, she was in her towel.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait.
That was perfect.
No, mine wasn't Sam opening the doll... Mine wasn't Sam opening the dollhouse.
Who opened the dollhouse for you?
So Sam got taken for me.
Who opened the dollhouse?
Chris and Ashley.
Oh, I forget. I just remember they're both downstairs.
So Chris and Ashley down there was the most terrifying part for me. Because you kept seeing the ghost apparition walking around and, like, pointing you in the right direction and pointing you to the dollhouse and pointing you blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That freaked me out. And there was, like, so many good jump scares in that. But I'm talking the actual, like, serial killer walking around. I was like, okay, this is fucked up and I love it. But it wasn't, like, scared.
Yeah.
But then they get you down and they make you do that final ultimate choice, right? Where Chris has the gun. And it's like, hey, Chris, you picked once, now you get to pick again.
Yeah, kill yourself or kill Ashley.
And I couldn't believe the implications behind who you kill. Right? Because, you're sitting there, you have the gun, and originally I put the gun to my head as Chris. And... you know, Chris is like, I'm going to do this. Like, I already, I killed Josh. I need to go. And then Ashley raises an unbelievably good point to me from across the table. Ashley says to Chris, you already saved my life once. Let me do you the favor back. Right? And it's like, okay, cool. Like that's fantastic. I was like, that makes sense. I already had to do a traumatic experience picking between these two people, and now I have to pick between myself and this person. They want me to do it. I know that people always say, like, kill me, I want you to live, right? Like, that's very generic, but, like, she raised, in my opinion, a good point.
Yeah.
I lift the gun up, I shoot her, but it fades to black, right? And I'm like, okay, now what's going to happen? And then when you come back in, you see that it's blanks. And you see that Ashley's very much alive. And Ashley, this is the part that I didn't like. Ashley hates my guts. Ashley's just like, you were going to kill me. I hate you. And the relationship meter between the two of them goes to 0. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess. Like, it's interesting because this game also has, I would argue, 3 sort of different storylines going on at once.
Yeah.
It has the 4 at the house. And then it has Mike off being this, like... Rambo, like... And that was something that I didn't really love, is, like, I get it, Mike's supposed to be, like, the hot jock, right? Like, he's like, yeah, I'm, like, this cool football player, I'm, like, 6'3", like, I'm ripped, like, I'm, like, whatever, right? Like, he's very, like, that guy.
Yeah.
So, of course, I was kind of annoyed when Mike comes out, kind of being the hero in this game, I would argue, right? Like, he gets all these guns, he, like, just... knows, like, kills a bunch of Wendigo, like, he befriends the wolf, like...
I was gonna ask, biggest decision in the game, did you kick the wolf or did you befriend it?
No, I kicked it, but then I befriended it after, and we were buds.
You kicked it.
But we were buds after.
Shouldn't have kicked it.
It was coming at me!
Yeah, it was mean, don't kick it.
It was coming at me.
You realize it's dogs after, basically?
Well, yeah, like, so it was coming at me to bite,
yeah.
And then I punched it.
Yeah.
And then I went and got a bone, and I gave it the bone, and we were friends, and then I actually got a trophy for keeping the wolf alive in the entire game.
Yeah, because you kick it, then you can, like, end up killing it somehow.
Well, I think maybe... Well, you see the one dead wolf. That honestly ruined me a bit. I did not like seeing that. There's like the pet wolf and it's like eviscerated, hanging from like the freaking roof, and I was like,
Wendigo.
yeah, and I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
The game was unbelievably gory.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe how gory this game was.
It's such a experience to play, especially if you get really dialed into it with headphones and everything.
So I did. Let me rate my setup. My 65-inch TV that we're looking at right over here. Pitch black in the room. Surround sound.
Yeah, it's all time.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
So much fun. All of my neighbors in my apartment, I think, must think that something nuts was going on here because the volume was so loud and it's just constant like blood curdling screams and like all this other kind of stuff. But like,
and the doors here don't
block sound.
Trap
Yeah,
sound.
oh yeah. So if anybody was walking by at like 1 a.m. last night, they're like, "What is this guy doing?"
Yeah, horror movie probably. But...
Yeah.
Or he's like, he's raising the spirits. Draw the circle in here, the semicircle.
I got a freaking I got a witch's circle in
Yeah.
here. No, but and then the third storyline is Emily and Matt, which for me I was the least engaged in. And
it was by far the worst.
I mean they're the ones that saved the day if you think about it.
The flare, yeah.
They went to the no, not the flare gun.
They need the flare gun to and the radio and the flare gun.
The radio saved the day, yeah, because then the helicopters come at the end.
Yeah.
So I know we talked about this, but let's talk about this on camera. Who lived, who died, how'd they live, how'd they die. So there's 8 total people that, and I'm going to count Josh as living in mine. Sorry, I am.
That's fine, yeah. I mean,
So-
he didn't die.
So there's 8 people.
He just became something.
Yeah, which we'll get to. But there's 8 people. I had them written down on a board over here just so we remember who they are, and we're going to talk through who lives, who dies. Yeah. So mine was a bloodbath. Mike lived because obviously Mike has to live because he's the frickin' Rambo hero of the group.
I don't understand why you didn't like Mike. I like Mike. By the end, I didn't really hate him.
I didn't know. Don't get me wrong. I liked him at the end too, but I hate that I liked him.
Yeah. I
just didn't like the character arc. I found that it made no sense. Like, buddy, let's be honest here. This is you and me up at this abandoned ski lodge we were at, and this starts happening to us up there.
Yeah.
You think you go Rambo like that?
No.
You think you cut your own fingers off to live?
No, but they make it like the movie where you have that one guy. It became like a Mike and Sam are the 2 like main people.
I disagree. I thought Sam was underutilized.
I didn't think so. I guess she died for you though.
No, but she died in the last 5 minutes for me.
You thought she was underutilized?
She was barely in my game.
I thought she was great.
She was barely in my game.
Still played a role though by the end of it. It was just her and Mike were the smart ones of the group.
Totally. Okay, I will agree with that.
Like, they were the main focal point by the end of the game. They're like, these 2 need to fucking come together to figure this out.
And here's the part that you're not gonna love. I find Emily for me at the end played a massive role too.
Yeah, so I blew her brains out. So.
But you killed her. Yeah. But she I mean, like even just because she survived in the mines for you, right?
Yeah.
And Matt died.
Yeah.
So same with me. Matt died in the mines. Emily survived. Emily's story through the mines for me was probably the best story that there was in terms of like development and discovery. Like Emily came back to them and she's like, there's Wendigo out there. I found best body, best dead. I found best tombstone. I found her head. I got flare guns. I met this guy that has like torches. Like Emily was like, when I first met her, I was like, this girl sucks. Like when I was rating the character, she was my second lowest rating, behind Jessica.
Oh, you rate? Oh yeah, I forgot you rate. Yeah.
You have to rate the character.
Jessica's the worst.
Jessica is the worst.
I'll be honest. She died for me. I was not sad.
She died for me. I was not sad.
I was like, good. I don't have to see your arc anymore because you have a terrible arc going.
Well, she the nice thing was they knew that you would hate her, and that's why she was gone for 80% of the game. Like she thinks she's the hottest. She thinks she's like the meanest. She thinks she's so proud of herself.
The baddest bee around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like she like pretty much for me, she's very like. Whatever. When she died, I was fine. You said her death shook you to the core, graphic-wise.
I still remember it, and it was like 4 years ago.
So
that was when I remembered like hard.
Just ripping her jaw out.
Yeah, because like at first it's like it's like choking her, and then shoves its fingers down her throat.
Yeah, and then rips
and like
the jaw
so she's already like basically dead, and then it just pulls down.
Yeah. It's true. It was pretty. To be fair, It was pretty traumatic.
I think I remember because if it was choking her and it like shoved its fingers down, like you see blood start coming out. It's like choking.
Well, you
like
remember its nails?
Yeah,
the nails are insane, right?
So
the nails are like freaking like this big.
Yeah. This
is probably our goriest podcast talking about today.
I know, and we got 6 more of these coming.
Yeah, buckle up, baby. So yeah, basically for me, Chris died, and we didn't talk about this on the pod yet, and I really want to. So I talked about how Ashley, after you try to kill her as Chris, hates you, right? And, you know, here's the part that makes no sense. She now has a choice at the end where Chris is getting chased by the Wendigo, and he's running in, he's knocking on the door, he's like, please let me in, Ashley, please let me in, I'm going to get killed, this thing's going to kill me. Ashley looks at him and is pretty much just like, you shouldn't have tried to kill me at the table, and then doesn't let Chris in, and Chris gets beheaded in front of her by the Wendigo. And that, again, that really bothers me. Because she was begging for, she was saying, like, she, to me, had really good points about why Chris should kill her versus kill himself. I'm sorry, she did.
She did.
And it's a Sophie's choice, right? There's no good choice here. It's a tough decision, and it's supposed to make you uncomfortable, right? The whole point of those decisions as a player in the game is you have to sit there and be like, who's putting this decision in front of me? Because you've got to grow to like these characters. I mean, like I said, like, I really didn't love Chris or Ashley, but, like, and I just went off by what they said. Chris, you already saved my life once, let me repay you. Sure, doesn't go through, and then she lets Chris die. That doesn't see, this is where Ashley...
It's because the relationship went to 0.
But we also see Ashley kind of go evil here.
Yeah.
And I'll elaborate a little bit on that for the pod. So we see this turning point where Ashley seemed like this, like we said, kind of nerdy, like innocent, like she's just having fun, whatever, like girl, right? Like she has this cute little crush on Chris, but she doesn't want to tell him. Chris has this cute little crush on her. He doesn't want to tell her. It's very like, oh, that's so nice. And then
12-year-old like kid like vibes.
But we see Ashley go. So Ashley kills Chris. That's our starting point, right? Ashley kills Chris. And then Ashley starts saying to Mike, when they find out that Emily's bitten, they say, kill Emily, kill Emily, kill Emily, kill Emily. And Mike obviously doesn't. Well, you can choose, and I obviously didn't make him.
I chose.
Yeah, but like, and then you find the diary after, and the diary says, bites are not infectious. The only way to turn is to eat human flesh. And Emily pretty much was just like, oh, I almost could have killed somebody else too, because like I've just become this ruthless person. Or Ashley, sorry. Ashley, and the worst part is, Ashley survives to the end for me. She's one of my only 3 survivors.
Yeah.
And
she sucks.
She sucks. Emily survived, and like I said, at the beginning I didn't like Emily. I actually really like the actress, Nicole something.
That's the girl.
I think it's like Nicole Sakura, maybe? I don't know, but like, she is, she's awesome. She plays Emily. She's she's not Chantel. I forget her name in Superstore. She's one of the main actresses in Superstore. She's fantastic. She's really funny, and she's a really unique voice. So as soon as I saw her face, I was like, "Is this girl?" And she opened her mouth. I was like, "Oh yeah, it is." Going back into that though, your deaths. So I kind of explained mine, and then Josh at the end of mine wasn't killed, but he got turned into a Wendigo.
Yeah.
But he lived, and I get that secret end credit scene.
Yeah.
Where he kills the 2 military guys in the helicopter.
Yeah.
So you obviously have quite a few differences in your stories. So why don't you walk through? Mike lived for yours, obviously. Oh, and then sorry, one last thing. Sam died in mine in the last 5 minutes. So
when you're trying to get out of the house.
Yeah, so you're trying to get out of the house, and one of the things in this game that I really didn't like, and I feel like they got rid of it in Medan or whatever.
Medan.
Yeah, Medan, and like it got rid of it in there. That makes me really, really happy. Is just due to the fact that like they have the hold your controller still.
They still had that in Medan.
I didn't have it.
Oh no, you have to press like the heartbeat thing.
Yeah, I like that way better.
Yeah,
that's more reasonable because like, dude, you're holding this thing. And, like, even if you shake a little bit, you're out.
Yeah, it sucks because, like, it's like a long sequence. So, like, eventually you're going to tire your arms anyways. And you move a little bit.
Or it's almost impossible to do it. And it comes at you so fast and you're so unprepared. And that's how Sam died in mine. So, basically...
She gets picked up and, like, they cut...
and then they rips her guts out and pulls her dead. Yeah. So, I was really upset about that. Because, like I said, Sam and Mike were, at the end, the 2 people I wanted to live.
And then Mike hits the lights instead.
Yeah. Mike hits the lights, Sam's body blows up, and it was, for me, literally just freaking Emily, Ashley, and Mike that made it through.
But I thought you said you ended up liking Emily and Mike then. But I thought you said you hated the three characters that lived the most.
At the beginning, yeah.
But now it's more rationalized.
Now that I'm talking about this, I actually don't hate it. The only one that I hate made it through is Ashley.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I didn't hate Ashley at the beginning. At the beginning, I was like, okay, like, Ashley's kind of like this, like, I like her vibe, she's this cute nerd, I want her and Chris to get together because, like, blah, 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 and, yeah. I don't know, it's a ride. Now that we're talking about this and I'm seeing this, like, yeah. But again, I think Mike's character arc felt very forced, like, the jock becoming the hero. Emily's is the one that I really liked. Emily's character arc and Emily's storyline and what Emily went through versus everybody else, incredible.
Yeah, I killed her when you get to choose. And then, yeah, because Chris lives. So I think that still happens even if Chris lives. Like, they still are like, oh my god, kill her.
100%, she's bit. That wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, so I shot her because I was like, okay, Mike's like, sorry, it has to happen. I shot her.
Yeah.
So I killed her. Jessica never made it back to the group, unfortunately.
The same
because she got her. Yeah, she got her face ripped off. And then Matt got hung.
I got that too.
And those are my 3 deaths.
And Josh got his head.
Oh, yeah, so I had 4 die. Maybe Matt didn't die because I watched the complications, so like, or compilation of like all the deaths. So maybe I'm just like fever dreaming it and thinking I had him die too. No, yeah, it was Matt didn't die. I just remember watching the video.
I don't know. I mean, probably...
I played it through a few times, and like both times Jessica dies. And it's just because it's so hard to like not shake the controller. That's
what I don't like. Like I'm sure maybe if you're trying to chase that ending where everybody lives, make it a little hard. But the fact that it's one tick, like you don't even have to like move it like this, right? It's not even like this much. It's literally like you're literally doing what I'm doing right now, barely moving, and it'll say nope, you're out, you're dead.
Yeah. So she dies regardless for me. Yeah. And I watched Matt one get hung. So who died for me was Josh, Emily.
You said so Matt didn't die in yours.
No, I watched the compilation video and I got in my head with it.
So I don't know if this is gonna mix you up because I'm curious. When does Matt meet with the rest of the group? Does he find Emily in the mines?
He's supposed to find Jessica at some point, but Jessica died for me. So I forget how he just ends up, but he ends up finding, running.
So you had a pretty good ending, all in all.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Like, my ending was traumatic.
The Josh death was nuts, because we were talking after, so he got the Wendigo, and, like, basically the Wendigo, his sister Hannah, basically just squeezes his skull until it blows up like a watermelon. Yeah. While in his, she just grabs him and, like, drags him off, and then he becomes a Wendigo, so he eats flesh down there.
And the really interesting kind of conversation that we had here is, like, well, what would change this outcome? And the one thing that we realized talking through this is dialogue options and choices aren't the only thing that affect the story. The clues and hints that you find along the way also impact how your story works. And I know this too because there's a couple times where like somebody would sit down and be like Mike, he'd say, okay, so they were running experiments in this psychiatric hospital. There's dead reporters, there's dead this, he's listing all these facts, which are all the clues I found. And then he says, and then I found this chair, but I don't really know how the chair gets in with everything. I think if I looked around more, I could have probably found it out. So basically what he's saying is he knows most of the story, but you missed a clue. And missing that clue, he doesn't get the full story.
Did you look at all the totems too?
Not all of them, but like... So the totems, I didn't find them useful.
No, they're very vague sometimes. Like, you're like, I don't... Because a couple of them, I remember I looked at them, they're deaths. And I never came across that situation.
There was one where some dude's face was a pancake, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is throughout the game you find totems, and there's 5 or 4 different types of totems. There's a death totem, a loss totem, which I don't understand the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Death and loss. And then there's a like helpful totem, and then there's some other type of totem, I think.
I forget. I haven't played the game in a while.
But like the thing is, like it's a 2-second video clip. And
the nice thing is you can re-pick it up and watch it again.
But you don't know when it's gonna happen. It could happen 5 hours down the road.
Or like 2 seconds.
That's what I'm saying. So it like for me it's very like I don't know.
I always like see who's in it too. Like you find the body and be like, oh, it's this person at some point.
The one thing that I did like, I learned when I was watching it, is all the death totems you pick up are deaths of the character that picks it up.
Yeah.
That was nice at least. So if I picked it up with Chris, I'd be like, okay, this could be how Chris dies, or this could be how this person dies, or this could be, how this person dies, or blah blah blah. But like, I mean, that for me was a miss. To be honest, the totems for me was a miss. It didn't really, just like the pictures in the other ones, which we'll talk about later. But like, it just felt like a miss.
Yeah, and then you like learn the story of the Wendigos from the flamethrower old man a bit. Like he tells you a bit of the story. Like
you must have done this too, because I'm just assuming pretty much all of the hold still ones you failed as well. I'm just going to assume that. And that's what Chris and the old man are trying to find Josh. Josh escaped. Well, the Wendigo took him, but like...
he gets killed. But
that's because it was one of those... the old man's like, stand still, they can't pick you up when you're moving. And it's the same freaking thing. I stand still, this guy gets his head cut off, and then Chris gets killed 2 seconds after. So, like, for me, I was like, did really one mistake kill 2 people for me? Yeah. And the answer is maybe. Because realistically, I wonder if... and we could definitely Google this, but I wonder if that old man comes back with them, and if that old man comes back, does Chris not get killed because Chris isn't alone anymore?
Well, no, I think his whole thing was he stays in the mountain to like fiend off the Wendigo from leaving the area.
I agree, but what I'm saying is like, because they basically, what happens is they get attacked at the shed and they run back to the lodge. But if he dies there and Chris makes it back to the lodge, Ashley doesn't let Chris in, so Chris gets killed. But if they both went back together, I feel like Ashley would let them in, because there's 2 of them now, not just Chris.
Yeah. That's fair.
So, how they start this off is so incredible. This whole game is they started off with the butterfly wings, and you see, like, the veins or whatever going through the butterfly wings, and they say it's like a story, butterfly effect, blah, 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 which we've talked about from Life is Strange.
Yep.
But it follows this thing, and it says you reach paths, and then the gold light goes down one of the paths. It reaches another path. So it's just... every story's different. I'm sure if you and I had 2 hours and we sat through this entire thing and talked about playthrough and like step by step what we did, we would have a ton of different situations.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of the game. It's kind of like those Telltale games too, where they have different like decisions all the time, and then you get to see at the end of the chapter, oh, this person did 10% this.
I wish it showed that.
That'd be really cool.
I wish it showed that so badly, like just in terms of like, or not even that, just at the end, if something came up and it said, in 100% of games, Nick survived or Mike survived in this many games, Ashley survived in this many games, and just the percentages interest me, right? Like, or another really good one, who did Chris try to kill? Right? Did Chris try to kill himself, or did Chris try to kill whatever?
Yeah, so just the decisions of every like major thing at the
end.
There's not, just to see. I think that might be a thing actually, in like the set credits after the game. I'm pretty sure.
No, it's not.
You checked everything.
Well, because I remember I had the secret end credit.
Even the menus after you checked to see if there's anything.
Maybe not.
So I feel like there might be something there for that. Because I think it's just really interesting to see how other gamers play the game compared to you, and also what they screw up, what they didn't screw up. Blah blah blah.
That's what I like about Life is Strange.
Yeah, Life is Strange has that too.
They do that too, and I was actually like, it was like you didn't steal the broom, like just very odd things, but they clearly carry over to the next chapter.
Yeah. So I mean, like, is this a game that's like there's so many layers and it's like an onion. Like there's just you keep peeling and there's different like things and outcomes that can happen.
Yeah, it's so good.
These games I think really are coming back for us, because I feel like it was something where we were looking and we're like, what are we going to talk about? And then Luke came across it, luckily, and I for some reason never like brought it up directly to him. And now we have
5 weeks of content.
Yeah, legit. And we're adding a second, the 6th game now that we just looked up that I didn't know was a thing.
And we're gonna have a little Destiny sneak peek in between. Yeah. We literally have a schedule written down of all of our games, all of our stuff. Like the next, almost up until Spooktober at this point, we have pretty much locked in.
And it's funny because all these games would be a perfect Spooktober game.
I like that we're not doing it though, because I think that's a cheap way out of Spooktober.
Yeah.
I think the Spooktober vibe should be very like unique one-off games. Like we're gonna do Outlast, for example. I'm talking about doing we need to do Outlast. It's gonna be a blast. But yeah, I mean honestly, like I said, this game is just really impressive. And I think we should probably get into the ratings now. I think I'm feeling pretty good about like what we've talked about. Is there anything I've missed?
Oh, I didn't tell you this lore. So the Wendigos are actually Nova Scotia lore.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it's about like basically the lore is eating flesh, but with this Wendigo like story.
It's indigenous folklore. Yeah, exactly.
It's very cool because I remember looking after I finished the game. I looked into it directly, and it was Wendigos come from Nova Scotia.
So it's really interesting because the first time I ever heard about a Wendigo was in the show Supernatural. So if you ever watch the show Supernatural, the second ever episode is about them fighting a Wendigo in a mine.
That's cool.
So it carries on over to what's going on here, and I think that they do talk about how it's it's indigenous like legend and folklore and all that kind of stuff, bringing that in. But yeah, I think they did such a good job. We just did Man of Medan, and I'm already so excited to talk about it next week, right? Like I'm in, and then we're gonna go. So anybody listening, we're doing Until Dawn this week, Man of Medan next week, Little Hope the following week, whatever the fourth game is.
House of Ashes.
House of Ashes, and then we're gonna do The Quarry, and then we have the prequel that we'll do as well.
The Imperial.
Whatever it's called.
Not the Impartial.
I thought it was
the Impatient.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can even do The Impatient after we finish House of Ashes and bring The Impatient to kind of wrap around and finish with The Quarry, because The Quarry is a newish game.
Yeah, I agree.
Last thing, actually, that I want to talk about is, actually, it can go in the ratings. I'll save it for the ratings.
All right.
Because we're going to jump right in. So I'm just going to open this handy thing up. So, going into characters, and this is what I want to talk about. Character development was good on a lot of characters, and it made me actually... Again, now that we've talked about this out loud, I like characters I hated at the beginning, and I hate characters that I liked at the beginning, and we saw these people turn from good to evil, or like their minds warped due to everything. However, I am not a big fan of the quote-unquote hero complex that we saw in Mike. I liked him at the end. I was like, oh, because, who doesn't like the badass dude that's going around killing these things with a wolf by his side?
Yeah.
But at the same time, for me, that always just feels like such a cheap... You find me a guy that's going to cut his own fingers off with a machete from a dog trap, and then I'll say, sure, okay, yeah. And then he just goes about his day like he's completely fine.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of stuff that, like, just, whatever. I mean, that's probably nitpicky, but what I want to talk about in the characters really, really badly.
Like, yeah, he hurt in the moment, but then he doesn't really care after.
He wraps it with dirty bandages, and he's just fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, are you? Yeah. But what I was going to say, the voice actors... and the face actors, a lot of them are really well known, which I'm so happy about, right? So we have Hayden Panettiere, who plays Sam, which is absolutely incredible. We have Nicole, I think it's Nicole Sakura, but like from Superstore, and I really like her. The crazy psychiatrist guy, I forget that guy's name, but he's awesome.
Oh yeah, he's played in Prison Break, a couple others.
He has like his accent is very interesting. I love his accent.
Yeah.
Like it's really good.
Yeah, we didn't talk. Yeah, I forgot about him a bit.
So his name, I'm just gonna pull this up quickly. Peter Stormare.
Yeah. So
he's incredible. And then last but not least, we talk about Josh. Maniac Josh is played by Academy Award winner Rami Malek. This is before his Academy Award, obviously, so let's say that. But still, like...
This is when he was doing, like, Dr. Robot or Mr. Robot or whatever it was
exactly,
called.
Yeah. So this guy, again, the other ones are, like, people that you can kind of recognize, but those are sort of the big stars of it. And all of them, even the ones that are sort of, like, not huge actors, are modeled facially off of the voice actors playing them, which I think adds a lot to it.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to give characters very high in this one. I'm going to go 4.5.
Yeah.
I'm going 4.5. I you know what? I'm doing it. I'm going 5.
I was going to go 5 too.
I'm going 5.
I just feel like it's deserving. I think all these games are really well done regarding the character development and like just like the way they look, structure, whatever. And like
any game that can make me have an initial thought about a character and then at the end of the game me be upset that they lived or me being happy. Again, Emily seems so dry to me.
Yeah, it drove you in. The story got you going.
That's what I'm saying. Just amazing.
Yeah, so 5 for me as well. Background, again, you're kind of just following like a certain like snail trail. Like if it was like the way the developers made it, you're literally forced to kind of go down a certain path, like in wherever part of the arc of the story you are.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of open world experience. That, however, the background, it looks very nice. I don't know how it holds up now for you playing it.
I don't know if this is like a PS5 rendering because it's beautiful.
I think they did.
Anyways,
but it looks very nice. It's like very well done. It's supposed to be that northern
Alberta, yeah.
like northern Canadian like vibe. I want to see the background, like, and then you'd see like certain like wildlife. The deers were in it, like the birds at the beginning. Like there was like certain things like that where you could see motion in the background. I want to say like a 3.5. So I don't want to go over the board because there wasn't like a super amount of like open worldness. There wasn't like a lot of stuff happening in the background, but it still was like just very beautiful. Some parts of it was really nice.
I'm going 4 on the background.
Yeah,
and you want to know why? I actually got kind of sick of the constant dark outside, snowy trees background. But what they did in the background is you don't know when the next jump scare is coming, and they kill it.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe how well they did jump scares in this. I think about when it's freaking Ashley and Chris in the basement, and Ashley and Chris are literally like following that ghost. And I'm sitting here at 2 a.m. playing that, and I'm horrified. And the screams from this ghost, it was just the background in terms of that. I get it was an open world, but it was still incredible. I just got a little bored of the woods and like using...
Do they specify what the ghost thing is?
It was fake.
Oh, it was made by Josh as well?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you see, actually, again, you show it. So, here's something really interesting. We talk music. There is no music.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And that's the really interesting part to me. So, like, do we rate that? Because in a way, I want to rate it, and I want to give it, like, this game might be, like, really good for us. I might give me the silence and how well it played into the game a 5.
Wow.
I think music would have ruined the game.
Yeah, it would have.
Could you imagine like a do 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 do?
Because you know it's what to like pop off.
100%. You know, like, or you just like, oh no, it's spooky, but no, you're outside. All you can hear is the crows or whatever. So silence. How did that work for you on this one?
No, it's supposed to bring that suspense and that
so
like.
you're going 5 too. You're going 5
Yeah, I
too.
think it's deserving.
Now this
Because I was gonna say like when you said music, I'm like there wasn't. I was like in my head, I'm like before you said it, I'm like there wasn't music. I remember that
they actively don't do it. There's certain parts where you'll sometimes hear it, like the classical when Sam's listening,
like
or
very subtle though. It's not like heavy.
So the other thing that they did in this one was, I don't know if you know, they have a rendition of the song "Oh Death" at the beginning of this game, and it's terrifying and it's so good. So replayability, you're up.
I played it twice, so that already nulls the 0 or 1.
I agree. Yeah, but
because I was just curious about like different endings. There's so many, like you said, there's the butterfly effect with different rippling like of like the wings. You can play it multiple times, and like I think there's like I didn't know how many exact endings there are. I think something, and I want to say like this is like a quote by me, but I think I read something like 100.
Maybe.
But I don't think that's the case. There's only 8 deaths potentially.
Yeah, but like different actions and different
things
can happen.
Yeah. So there's like different things that can happen in that sense. So just off the fact that alone, like the replayability aspect of it, if you didn't watch video or anything, like just to like see what would happen if you played a certain way, I feel like it's deserving of 4. Like I could easily jump back into that and be interested to play.
So this is going to be really interesting for me right now. Mine's kind of low.
Really?
I don't really have the interest in playing this again right now.
Well, yeah, because you're dialed in the other.
No. It's just like we talk a lot about the good in this because there is a lot. But for example, for me, the snail's pace that you walk at the entire time. If you could sprint, I know you can fast walk, but you barely do it. And like it just, and that would still be the other thing that would really frustrate me is let's say I'm going for like a full survivor ending. I want everybody alive. If I fuck up a single one of those tilting things, I can't go back, right? You can't replay.
I thought you can replay a chapter, no?
Okay, yeah, but like, I don't know if that affects the full story, right? Like,
no, it would just pick up from the beginning of that chapter.
That's what I'm saying. So that null, like the survivor thing,
No, like if you say like you're in chapter 4 midway through, and I don't know, Sam dies, you could restart that chapter and like there's still.
But some
of
the chapters are 45 minutes.
I know, so that's the
for
that's
me,
the part of the game.
I'm giving the replayability a 2.5. Still good.
Still good.
But not where I need it to be.
Yeah.
Last but not least, the story. This is a tough one for me because at its core it's good, but at its core it's bad. The ride was good, but the fact that this kid somehow puts together this elaborate murder party thing and like that was like ridiculous.
But they're rich.
Okay.
Like, so he went up there by himself
okay,
before
sure,
him.
but the fact that he pulled it all off without a single issue.
Yeah.
And then I also didn't like, so we kind of talked about this, how like Josh kind of all of a sudden snaps and goes nuts. I didn't really like that either. Because I was just like, okay, so all of a sudden now that he's caught, he just goes nuts? Does that happen? Like, is that how things work here? Like, I don't really... And then he's just nuts for the rest of the thing.
He does snap out of it, like, in the end of the mine.
No, for me, he didn't. He snaps out for a second. You slap him, he's like, Mike, that's you? Yeah, let's go. And then next thing you know, he's just nuts again.
Oh, yeah.
So that was whatever, like, and the Wendigo part, I wish they...
We were talking about that, too. Like, they pull him off, and they start beating the shit out of him, like, tie him to a pole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, and so the thing for me also on top of the story is, like, it just... The story itself didn't stand out for me, I'm sorry. The ride did. The frickin' ride did, but I sit here and I think about masterpiece stories like The Last of Us, where you feel emotion, where you feel blah, 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 blah. Like... I didn't really feel sad when any of the characters died. You
did say you felt pretty like okay with the ending though. You're like, oh, I actually like this character now. I felt bad when.
But that's character
Sam
development
died.
though.
But you felt bad when Sam died.
But that was because she died for a bullshit reason because my controller moved.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna give it a 3. Don't get me wrong, it's still gonna be good.
I know where you're coming from though. You're comparing it to like a lot of games that we've done, like Witcher, BioShock, with all the different like stuff that plays into the story and why it's such a good story. And let me say it like this: my final rating is still fantastic, but like, oh yeah,
the sort of moral of what I'm just trying to kind of pull across here is just the fact that like I find it's really like. I also hate the whole like, oh, they're making Wendigos at the insane asylum. Oh no, evil, like that just feels like a tacky way out. I wish it was just they were just creatures up there, and I like how Hannah turned into a Wendigo because she was starving and had to eat her sister to stay alive, and that's what turned her into. I think that's really cool. That part of it was awesome. But then they're like, no, there's a bunch of them, and they're all locked in the insane asylum because they were testing them and all this kind of stuff, and like I was kind of like, okay, like anyways, so I'm giving it a 3. It's not where I need it to be story wise. Yeah. But the ride was there. Yeah, in the moment. It's like a roller coaster, and then you go on the roller coaster, and while you're on it, you're like, this is so much fun. And then when you leave, you're kind of like, I don't need to do that again. Like it was good, but it like, it's like watching a horror film where like you afterwards you think about it and you break down like this didn't really add up. Agreed. That's a great it's a horror. The story just wasn't there for me. Yeah. What's yours? I think that's fair. Now you justifying what it is. I think a 3's up like right up par with you. So this is one of our biggest rated games in a long time, I think. I have a 7.8 and you have an 8.2. Ooh. Play Until Dawn, I think so that's actually going to be a Gameaholic score of 8.0. Jeez. Which is very, very high. We don't normally get that high when we're doing these rating systems. So the fact that we got up there is beyond incredible. Yeah, definitely. We had finally a moment. I love it. I love it. Like I said, I got in this game. I played it in one night. I stayed up till 3:30 last night playing this game because I was so invested in it. Like it was amazing. Final topics is this game is a must play. If you have the new PlayStation Plus Premium, it is free on there. I'm sure it's probably free on Xbox Game Pass because everything is. It's not. Oh, interesting. They used to have Man of Medan on the Game Pass for free. Mm-hmm. That was the only one. So let me ask you this question. Would you pay full price for this game? I would. Until Dawn? Yeah. If it came out today and it was $80 on the shelf right now, would you pay $80 for it?
Knowing the experience I had, yeah.
Me too.
Yep.
Without a doubt. This game is a buy. This game is a download for free if you have PlayStation Plus. This game is all around freaking incredible. Amazing. So, on that note, I think we've covered everything we need to talk about with Until Dawn. It's a definite Gameaholic buy, like definite play. That should be our new thing at the end. It's a buy. We talk Man of Medan next week.
Like a deal or no deal?
Yeah.
Buy or don't buy?
Like, it's exactly. Like, it's just
no
like,
buy, Howie. Just puts the thing down.
That's exactly. Yeah. So my point is, we're going in now to the part that's called the Horror Pictures Anthology. And that's 3 games currently. So we'll be starting with Man of Medan next week, which I'll be honest, I already played because that's what got me into this, and I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yep, and I played that as well.
They're short. I feel like they're shorter stories than Until Dawn, though, or are they?
I think in retrospect, they're probably almost the same length. We just don't feel like it.
I also feel like there's less to talk about, but I mean, who knows, right?
There is, but you also had a couple characters die before you got on the boat, so...
Spoiler alert for next week. As always, thanks for tuning in. Follow us on Instagram at Gameaholic Podcast, and we'll catch you guys later with a brand new episode from... I forgot what that...
The Dark...
No, what's the company called?
Supermassive Games.
Supermassive Games. We're at Supermassive Games month. We should just message them.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we're doing a whole month on reviews of your games. Give us some swag.
You think I got
Supermassive.
You think they got any?
No.
A nice sweater.
Calgary. No, it would be so nice. Like Black Root Mountain or whatever it's called, and like the thing, and it says Calgary, Alberta, or Alberta.
That'd be cool.
That would be. I would wear that.
Hook us up.
Hook us up. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week for an all new episode.
Peace.